Are you stuck in a stall, a plateau? Is it driving you nuts? Do you think you're doing all the right things, but the scale just won't move? Oh, you're going to enjoy this next 20 minutes. Hey team, it's Mike here at After 40 Fitness and after40fitness.ca. Great question came in today on how do I break a stall? How do I get through this plateau that's driving me nuts? I swear I'm doing all the right things and all of a sudden my weight loss has stopped. Oh my goodness, I feel your pain. And we all do. Anybody who's been in the calorie restricted diet for any length of time appreciates a stall or a plateau. Got some great information. I got ideas for you. You're going to appreciate this on how to not only get out of the stall, but how to avoid them in the first place. Hey, listen, if this is your first time to my channel or you haven't yet, please do hit subscribe. Obviously, smash that like button if you're going to enjoy the video. But really, this is one of those videos that, since as we agreed, probably most people most are watching what they eat. They're on a calorie restricted program, in which case this is a video you're going to want to share. I jumped into social media real quick, just into Facebook, to see some comments about plateaus and stalling. I wanted to get a feel for what people think a plateau or a stall, how long it takes to be in one. And I found such a mix, such a variety. For example, this one here in the low carb ladies group, I've been on a plateau for a week. So a week, the scale hasn't moved in a week. Well, if you're at all following my preaching as a coach, as a health and fitness wellness coach, I don't know if I'd call that a plateau. There are just far too many variables around weight loss, fat loss. I really don't think a week is enough. To me, the minimum is 2 weeks, and I tell my clients, if the scale doesn't budge in a month, bring that to my attention. However, look at this one here. I went and found a couple more. This one, please help. I need help. I've been stalled for over 6 months. I lost 40 pounds, which took a year, so 50 to go, but the scale hasn't moved. To me, that's a stall. If you haven't had a weight loss in 6 months, despite doing the moves, despite putting in the effort, that's definitely a stall. This one here, I've been stuck after losing almost 20 kilograms. It's been almost 4 or 5 months. I need to lose another 10. Not sure where I'm screwing up. Awesome. I can't wait to give this video when I'm done to this person. And here's another one. After how many days do y'all consider plateau or weight loss stall? And what are proven tactics to break through? Days? No. Weeks? Yes. Okay, so my response to this person is, how about come back in at least 15 days? Okay, give it solid 2 weeks, and then we'll talk about the steps that this person should do that I'm going to recommend you all do if you're experiencing a stall or weight loss or a lack of weight loss. And one more, any advice on how to get past the plateau? Started keto beginning of March, lost 21 pounds, and now the weight doesn't seem to drop. It's very common is where I'm going. We all experience it, myself included. I'll show you before and after. Due to some injuries, got as high as 255, 257. I hover now comfortably in the 188 to 190 range, right? And because of that, I got some good vascularity. But make no mistake, I can experience a stall and have just like you. So, man, when it comes to breaking through stalls 101, I got some good stuff for you. Why don't we start with a little context, a little background about what we're talking about when it comes to calorie expenditure, calories in versus calories out. Do you have to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight? Absolutely you do. Right? That is a given. The law of thermodynamics kind of dictates that the calorie in versus calorie out, or the energy in that we ingest versus the calories that we expend on a daily basis, that's got to be in a deficit. Right? However, the idea that that's easy to do, that calories in, calories out is a simple method, not true. There are some gotchas, which makes it more of a guideline. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's look first at calories in. On the calories in side, I'm going to show you an image here that I just found profound. Notice this, the FDA allows food companies latitude in the accuracy of calories listed on their labels, 20% plus or minus. So if a label says 200 calories, it could be as much as 240, as little as 160. I mean, in 2020, how do they get away with that? Unbelievable. So the idea that we can count calories going in is a hit and miss. Right? It's really not a fine-tuned machine. Granted, there are some things that we can take from, which is why I personally, when I have a new client, the first thing I have them do is log everything that goes in their mouth over a given week. I want to know everything that goes in their mouth, what it was, when it went in, and how much. Okay? Because I am going to do an exercise with them to figure out what their ballpark calories are on a daily intake over the course of a week. Right? There's still some good exercises, some good benefits that come from doing that. So let's just start with first that it's not an exact science. Notice this graph. Resting metabolic rate, 60%. We'll talk about what that means in just a second. The thermic effect of feeding is our next topic. And then, of course, physical activity. So when we talked about calories not being precise, another phrase that comes up a lot is that a calorie is a calorie. And to some degree, as long as you put a caveat in place, that's true. The caveat is that when it hits the bloodstream. Okay, when it goes into your mouth, a calorie is not a calorie because of this thing called the thermic effect of feeding. If you haven't heard of that before, this refers to the amount of calories required just to digest food. Right? So here's an example. When it comes to fat, roughly 3, maybe 4% of the calories from fat are needed to digest it and assimilate the fats. Eat 100 calories of fat, probably 96 are available to you for energy or are going to get stored on your hip, butt, and thighs. When it comes to carbs, 12-ish, maybe 15% is used to digest it, assimilate it, metabolize it, etc., which means of 100 calories, let's call it 85 are available for you to use or store. When it comes to protein, the big one, this is where protein really shines, the thermic effect tends to be between 25 and 30%. You ingest 100 calories from protein, probably 70 is available to your body for metabolic processes, for enzymes, for hormones, and for building muscle. Okay, so remarkable the difference from 4 to 15 to 30%. That's the thermic effect as an average. It shows 8 in this image. But that's how really, truly, calorie is not a calorie. Now, granted, however many calories it took from each of those 3 macros, when it finally gets down to a calorie from each going into your bloodstream, they are the same. The definition of RMR is the amount of energy required to maintain body function, metabolic activity. Notice respiration, temperature, digestion. RMR, and the word resting gives it away, is if you laid on your bed and didn't move, how many calories would you burn per day just to survive? All right. RMR. Basel takes it one step further and incorporates another acronym. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but look at this definition for the acronym of NEAT. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Notice non-exercise. So this is doing everything else beyond sleeping, but not exercise. So it gives examples of walking to work, typing, yard work, fidgeting even. So physical activity, while it falls into that piece of the pie there, what we're talking about is much less than a third. Right? That shows a third, including NEAT. Let's call it half that, meaning you probably got about 20% at most of your calories that you and I can have an influence over in the form of exercise. So when it comes to how we can control, this is on the calories inside. Remember, we talked about the thermic effect of food. A calorie is not a calorie. We talked about how labels can be off by 20%. Now we can switch in this category here of NEAT and physical activity over to the calories out side of the equation. Really quickly, before we get into how to bust through the stall, let me just tell you how I help my clients not even have to experience them. This is kind of cool. Maybe you want to steal this. Remember I mentioned that I have all my clients go through an exercise of recording everything, right? Recording every bite, every morsel, every calorie that goes in their mouth for the express purpose of coming up with some kind of a baseline caloric expenditure for them for the day. You know, even though it's not an exact science and it truly is a best guesstimate, I do want to know. Once I've got that value figured out now, I have them aim for that number and create their caloric deficit through exercise. Now, you know as well as I do, probably the most common way that people create a caloric deficit is via calories. Well, doesn't that crash your metabolism? Damn right it does. Look at this image. Notice the blue line. Now, as this person goes on a calorie-restricted diet, notice their RMR. This is their RMR. Their resting metabolic rate. Look how that drops over the course of 6 weeks. It does slightly recover, which surprises me. And yet it's still much less than it was before they started this diet. Okay, well, that's destined to fail. If you cut calories and after 4, 5, 6 weeks, you find that you're losing weight, you're losing fat has stopped, what can you do except continue to cut calories? That is a never-ending game and you can't win. See, calories in, calories out in this equation is already doomed to fail because you don't control. Remember, you don't control that enough of your calories. Your RMR is too big of a potential user or expenditure or calories out, and you don't control it. It works against you. In fact, so much so that we're forgetting a piece of the puzzle, and it's hormones. Right? Look at these hormones. Some of these have a yin and yang effect. I mean, when you look at something like, well, the easy ones are insulin and glucagon that battle for whether you're in fat storing mode or fat releasing mode. Leptin and ghrelin, your hunger hormone versus your satiety hormone. Cortisol affects a whole boatload, including insulin as well. So got to reduce our stress. And fasting is a stress on the body. It promotes cortisol, which promotes insulin, which promotes fat storage, fat saving, right? Fat sparing is a good way of putting it. So we got that working against us on top of our RMR dropping. But then there's one more thing that's really key. When we cut calories and our RMR kicks in by dropping, right, to suit, guess what your body's doing? It's so smart. Our bodies are just so intelligent. They determine and prioritize which part of the bodily processes must continue to function. I kid you not. And so you know what happens? You read with us in the form, look at this image. People, women talk about losing their hair all the time. Well, their stress goes up, whether they know it or not, but typically dieting is stressful. Sagging muscles, sagging skin. Not enough calories are going to maintain muscles and skin. Cognition and mental issues, right? Not being able to sleep as well. Oh my God, for sure. Immune health, but women's period stops when you cut calories for too much or for too long, right? My clients don't do this. In that example I showed you of one of my clients working up to about 1,750 calories, I want her to eat 1,750 calories, always, 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 every day, right? Don't deviate. I'll help her, or for that matter, one of my male clients, create their caloric deficit via exercise. Now, I'm not talking about going for a walk. I'm not talking about leisurely bike rides or going for a swim at the Y. Okay, those are all great. They will not impact this 15%. I'm more towards the NEAT section of the grid, right? Exercise has got to be something that really challenges you. It's got to be resistance training in the form of weights and HIIT. Those two. In fact, I have my clients do a 6-day schedule of alternating between weights and HIIT. 3 on, 3 off. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we weights, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, some form of HIIT. There's also something neat. I'm going to share something. If you haven't heard this term, it's called the afterburn. The afterburn, as you see, is that after you finish your workout and catch your breath, your body continues to draw oxygen and burn calories at an accelerated rate. This 2011 study showed that after HIIT, that's why I love HIIT, some people burned as much as 200 calories in the next 14 hours after their workout ended. So just paint a picture real quick. Let's suppose for a second you find a way, you work your way up to the point where you can do some physical activity and burn 100 calories a day. Okay? Preferably you'll work that up over time to 200 or 300 calories a day in the workout. Not difficult to do. But if you can burn 200 calories during a workout, another 100 because of the afterburn effect, there's your 300. Right? Why would I have anybody eat if their calories for the day are 1,750? Why would I ever have them eat 1,450? Eat 1,750. Stoke your metabolism. Everything running normal, and I'll help you create your caloric deficit via exercise. Oh, this is a biohack right there, right? Plain and simple, right? You'll build your deficit from exercise. Eat at maintenance and build your deficit from exercise. You don't need many. You'll need a couple hundred calories a day of deficit. Let exercise do that, especially with this afterburn effect. So let's talk about what to do when you're in a stall, right? You don't want to drop your calories. We've established that, and you want to get the fat loss going again. Okay, so it's time to mix something up, right? You got to change something, and so I'm going to give you some ideas. Number one, first, let's start with the basics. Log everything again. I'll bet you that things have crept on you. You think you're under 20 or 25 grams a day of carbs? I bet you're not, but logging would prove it. And see if your carbs have crept on you. Your calories may have crept on you. Number two is identify weak spots. You know, I'm not a big fan of blaming artificial sweeteners. I'm more a fan of looking at things like that you may have a slight intolerance to that you didn't know about. Eggs, nuts, dairy, right? If you've started to over-enjoy those, then there may be an opportunity there to cut back a bit on the calories from having too much lactose, maybe too much dairy. Number three is make sure you're training. If you are not yet training, you need to start. You need to be moving some weight, some resistance. We've established that. Okay, this diet, definitely keto is muscle sparing. It is not muscle proof. The only way to make it muscle proof is a little bit more than normal protein and resistance training. Make sure you do some training. If you are training, then you have to do something different. Maybe it's add a bit more time. Maybe instead of going and working out for your usual half hour, stretch it to 40 minutes. You'd be amazed over the course of a week how many more calories that burns, not to mention the afterburn effect, right? Second, add intensity. If you're used to doing steady state, could be elliptical or it could be the treadmill, try mixing it up. Try throwing in some HIIT moves, right? Up the intensity, up the speed, up the angle. Anything that makes the same amount of time, if you're not going to increase the time, the same amount of time work harder, burn more calories, kickstart your metabolism. The other thing you want to do is alter your NEAT. Remember we talked about this is the non-exercise portion of the activity, and you control this to a large degree, right? Make a focused effort not to take the elevator, take the stairs, walk, bike,
right? Put on some rollerblades. Run down to the nearest secondhand store and buy a pair of rollerblades and get out once or twice a week on rollerblades. Do something to increase your NEAT. You'd be amazed over the course of a week what you can do on a daily basis just by fidgeting more, by walking more, by taking more stairs. Okay? The other thing you want to do is brainstorm for ideas. Okay, when you think about your day, as you're going through your day, brainstorm on what am I doing that's adding to my caloric intake or decreasing my caloric out, the outbound, right? The calories out. Once you start brainstorming on ways to decrease your caloric intake, and preferably not below your maintenance level, only if it's crept, and or increase your NEAT, you'd be amazed at the ways that open up to you and the things you become aware of. And that may, here's another alternative for it, that may include changing something else in your diet. Do you do IF? If you don't IF, intermittent fast, you should try it. You should first start on a 12-12. Try to focus on 12 hours of not eating a day and all your food in a 12-hour window. And then stretch that, if you do that already, then stretch into a 16 and 8. 16 hours of fasting and then all your calories in an 8-hour window. I personally am partial to an 18 and 6. So I get 2 meals and a snack in a 6-hour window per day. That's my day. That's what I aim for. Right? There are such things as 20 and 4, 20 hours of fasting and all your calories in a 4-hour window. If you do some measure of IF already, mix it up. If you're doing 16 and 8, drop to 12 and 12 for a couple of days, and then freak yourself out and go with an 18 and 6 for a couple of days. Anything to trick your system, to shock the system, to give it something it's not ready for. You'd be amazed, just that little bit of a change, what that can do to your body's becoming used to your system, right? It's starting to adapt. You gotta fool it. You gotta biohack it in some way, shape, or form, and that's a big way. If you do IF, have you tried an EF? Have you taken a full day and fasted? I'll tell you something, anytime I want to lose weight, I want to get cut, I'm more shredded, that's actually this time of year, I start taking Mondays off. No food on Mondays. So from my last meal on Sunday until lunch on Tuesday, nothing in between. If you haven't explored these yet, please do. One is alternating your type of fast. Have you tried a PSMF, a protein sparing modified fast? Look at it. That's where you ingest 200 calories a day of protein and nothing else. Blow you away. You want to talk about fat loss. There's such things as an egg fast. It's cool. Nothing but eggs and water for 2 days. Oh my God, you want to jumpstart your fat loss? Try that. Lastly, I want to touch on CKD. I'll tell you what I do really quickly to finish. And all my clients, we all take 2 days, 2 meals per month just to reward ourselves for a job well done. Now, you may be right away say, oh, you're using food as a reward that promotes an eating disorder. I disagree. That's dumb to categorically say that. My clients look forward like you wouldn't believe. 2 weeks of solid work, solid keto, and then from Saturday, from about dinner time till bedtime, open season. That's only if they had success. If they put in 13 and a half solid days of effort with 100% adherence and no mistakes, then they, from dinner time on Saturday until they go to bed on Saturday night, open season. Enjoy what you want, gorge. Okay, that's celebrating a job well done. And so I'm a big believer in that. However, the benefit of CKD is you have no idea. You talk about resetting your metabolism, myself included, but all my clients seem to come back and say, you know something, Mike, whatever I weighed on Saturday morning, I then went ahead and gorged and had 2,000 calories from carbs Saturday night. And on Monday morning, my weight had normalized, and by Wednesday, I had dropped a pound. So much for my stall. You'd be amazed. Little things like that, like resetting the system and feeding it what it needs so it doesn't think you're starving anymore, right? Jolting the metabolism slightly back up, your RMR will recover from it. Right, mix up some IF, try an EF, CKD, PSMF, an egg fast, give up something, try one thing though. Whatever you're going to do, if all these suggestions, I hope you cherry pick the ones that you're going to try, make sure you only do one at a time. Right? Get your calories back to where they belong and one at a time cycle through them. Because I'll tell you what, you always want to have something else to fall back on. So by always taking out something and feeding it back in and taking out something, you can constantly have your system, you can constantly biohack your metabolism and let the weight loss continue. Hey, listen, I hope that some of that, were nuggets for you and some things you may not have tried, but really focus on getting your calories to where they need to be and creating your deficit from exercise. I promise you, you will not be disappointed in that. You will have long sustained losses in fat and in weight. And my goodness, you won't have to worry about calories just continually getting demolished from underneath you. Hey, on that note, I hope you appreciated some of that. Please do share this video with anybody you know who's on a diet regimen because they're going to come across the same situation. Comments like the one that drove this video, man, I appreciate them. Throw a comment in, a question, a concern. I'll be happy to turn it into a video just like this one. And on that note, thanks so much for spending your time with me. I'll see you in the next one.